You've said the right things before and still felt something slip through your fingers. You told her she looked beautiful. You told her she was special. You even told her she meant a lot to you. And for a moment, it worked. She smiled. She leaned in. The connection felt real. But then something changed. Her replies slowed. Her energy shifted. The warmth you felt quietly disappeared. And what hurts the most isn't the rejection. It's the confusion. Because no one ever told you this uncomfortable truth. Not all compliments create desire. Some of them quietly kill it. Welcome back to Psychology of Desire, where we don't just talk about attraction, we expose the forces underneath it. The silent triggers, the emotional undercurrents, the things people feel but never admit. And if you listen closely, you'll start to notice something. The people who create the deepest emotional impact rarely say more. They just say it differently, because mature hearts, the ones shaped by time, experience, and quiet disappointments, don't melt for surface-level praise anymore. They've heard it all before. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You're perfect. Those words don't touch them, not because they're cold, but because they've learned something the hard way. Words are cheap when they're predictable, and predictable emotions don't create desire. You see, a mature heart doesn't crave attention. It craves recognition. There's a difference. Attention is loud, obvious, easy to give. Recognition is quiet, precise, almost surgical. It sees what others overlook. And when someone feels truly seen, not for their appearance, not for their performance, but for something deeper, something they don't even show the world, that's when the shift happens. That's when attraction stops being logical and becomes emotional, almost involuntary. Think about the last time someone said something to you that stayed in your mind longer than it should have. It wasn't loud, was it? It was subtle, almost unsettling, like they noticed something about you that you didn't expect them to notice. That's the kind of compliment that lingers. That's the kind that creates tension, curiosity, even obsession. Because now, it's not just about them liking you. It's about how deeply they understand you. And understanding is power. Most people try to impress. They try to say the right thing, the safe thing, the thing that sounds good on the surface. But mature hearts don't respond to safety. They respond to emotional risk, to words that feel slightly dangerous because they carry truth. Not the kind of truth that flatters the ego, but the kind that exposes something real, something hidden. That's why sometimes the most powerful compliment doesn't feel like a compliment at all. It feels like a quiet revelation, and it creates a strange reaction. Part of them feels drawn to you, and part of them feels exposed. And that tension, that push and pull, is where desire begins to grow. Because now, you're no longer just another voice saying nice things. You're someone who sees beneath the surface, someone who doesn't react, but observes. And observation creates mystery. Mystery creates intrigue. And intrigue slowly turns into emotional attachment. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because once you understand this, you start to see your past differently. All those moments where you thought you were saying the right thing, you weren't connecting, you were performing. And people can feel that, even if they can't explain it, especially mature hearts. They've been through enough to recognize patterns. They know when words are rehearsed. They know when attention is given too easily. And when something is too easy, it loses its value. That's why the compliments that melt them don't come from a place of trying. They come from a place of noticing, of restraint, of saying less but meaning more. And the first compliment that begins to unlock this shift isn't what you think it is. Because it doesn't praise what they show the world. It quietly acknowledges what they try to hide from it. And once you say it, you can't take it back. Because now, they'll start looking at you differently. Not just as someone who likes them, but as someone who understands them. And that changes everything. There's something almost dangerous about being understood. Not in the obvious way, not like someone agreeing with you or validating you, but in that quiet, unsettling way where someone sees through the version of you that you carefully present to the world. Because a mature heart doesn't just build connections, it builds defenses. Over time, it learns what to show, what to hide, and more importantly, what never to reveal. So when someone steps past all of that, without force, without pressure, just by noticing, it doesn't feel normal, it feels personal. The first compliment that melts a mature heart isn't about beauty, success, or charm. It's about contradiction. It sounds like this. You act like you have everything under control, but I can tell you get tired of always being the strong one. Pause there for a second, because this isn't flattery. This is exposure. You're not praising what they're proud of. You're acknowledging what they silently carry. And that does something most people aren't prepared for. It creates stillness. They don't immediately respond, not because they're uninterested, but because you've interrupted their pattern. You've said something no one usually says. Most people admire strength. Very few recognize the cost of it. And when you do, it creates an emotional shift that's hard to explain. Suddenly, they feel seen, not as the role they play, but as the person behind it. And here's where the psychology gets deeper. Mature individuals often tie their identity to resilience. They're the ones others rely on, the ones who don't break, at least not in front of people. So when you acknowledge the pressure behind that strength, you're doing two things at once. You're validating them and gently removing the mask. That dual effect is powerful. Because now, you're not just someone who appreciates them. You're someone who understands their reality. And understanding builds emotional trust faster than attraction ever could. But there's also tension here, because being seen like that feels good and uncomfortable. It forces them to confront a part of themselves they usually keep buried. And the mind does something interesting in that moment. It goes back to you, again and again, trying to understand how you saw it, why you said it, what else you might notice. That's where curiosity turns into emotional fixation. Not because you overwhelmed them with attention, but because you gave them something rare, accuracy. And accuracy feels intimate. But here's where most people get it wrong. They try to replicate this by saying something deep or emotional. They overdo it. They push too far. And instead of creating connection, they create discomfort. Because there's a fine line between seeing someone and exposing them. The difference is intention. If it feels like you're trying to impress them with your insight, it loses its power. But if it feels like a quiet observation, something you noticed without trying to use it, that's when it lands. That's when it lingers. That's when it melts them, slowly, internally, without them even realizing why. And once that door opens, even slightly, they start to lower their guard around you. Not completely, not all at once, but enough. Enough to listen more closely. Enough to feel something shift when you speak. And that's when the second compliment becomes even more powerful. Because now, you're no longer a stranger. You're someone who has already crossed the surface. And the next thing you say doesn't just get heard, it gets felt. But this one is different. Because instead of seeing what they hide, it touches something they secretly want, but rarely admit. And when you say it the right way, it doesn't just create attraction, it creates desire mixed with doubt, the kind that keeps you on their mind longer than you should be. By now, something has already shifted. Not on the surface, not in the obvious, predictable way people usually talk about attraction, but underneath, quietly. Because once someone feels seen, even just a little, they start listening to you differently. Your words don't pass through them anymore. They stay. And that's exactly where the second compliment begins to work. Not as flattery, but as permission. Because beneath every mature heart, there's a tension they rarely admit out loud. A constant negotiation between control and desire. They've learned to be careful, to think before they feel, to hold back even when they want to lean in. So they become measured, composed, predictable even. Not because that's who they are, but because that's what keeps them safe. And safety slowly kills intensity. Here's where it changes. The second compliment doesn't focus on their strength. It challenges their restraint. It sounds like this: "You're a lot more intense than you let people see. I don't think most people could handle that side of you." Notice what just happened. You didn't ask them to open up. You didn't pressure them to reveal anything. You simply suggested that there's more to them, something deeper, something slightly dangerous, and more importantly, something rare. Now their mind starts moving, because you've just given a name to something they feel but don't usually express. Intensity. Not chaos, not drama, but depth. Emotion that runs deeper than surface-level conversations. Desire that doesn't show itself easily. And when you acknowledge that, without demanding proof, you create a quiet kind of permission. Permission for them to be more than the version they show everyone else. And here's the psychological shift most people miss. When you tell someone they're nice, fun, or easy to be around, you're placing them in a category: safe, understandable, replaceable. But when you suggest there's something in them that most people can't handle, you remove them from that category. Now they feel different, unique. And with that comes curiosity. Why did you say that? What do you see in me? What do you think I'm capable of? And just like that, they're no longer passively receiving your attention. They're engaging with it, trying to understand it, trying to understand you. Because you've subtly positioned yourself as someone who sees beyond the obvious and isn't intimidated by it. That last part matters more than it seems. Mature hearts don't just want to be seen, they want to be met. Their depth, their intensity, their complexity. They don't want it admired from a distance. They want to know someone can stand in front of it without stepping back. And when your words suggest that, without you ever having to prove it directly, you create something rare. Emotional tension. The kind that doesn't resolve quickly, the kind that lingers in silence, in late-night thoughts, in the spaces between conversations. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because now they start to hold back in a different way, not out of caution, but out of awareness. They don't want to reveal too much too soon, not because they're guarded, but because they're curious how much you already see. And that curiosity, that subtle uncertainty, is where attraction deepens into something harder to control. Something that doesn't rely on constant communication, but grows in absence, in pauses, in the things left unsaid. And by the time you reach this point, you've already done something most people never do. You've moved past attention, past surface-level attraction, into something psychological, something emotional, something that doesn't fade easily. Which is exactly why the third compliment is the most dangerous one. Because it doesn't just make them feel seen or understood, it makes them feel chosen. And when someone feels chosen, without you ever saying the words directly, they start choosing you back. Not consciously, not logically, but emotionally. And once that happens, control starts to shift. There's a moment, subtle, almost invisible, where everything changes. It's not when they smile, not when they reply faster, not even when they start thinking about you more than they should. It's when they begin to feel something they can't easily replace. Because attention can be replaced, attraction can be redirected, but the feeling of being chosen in a way that feels rare, that stays. And the third compliment is what creates that shift. But here's the part most people get wrong. They try to declare it. They say things like, "You're different," or "I've never met anyone like you." And it sounds good on the surface, but underneath, it feels like something they've probably said before or heard before. And anything that feels repeated loses its weight. The third compliment doesn't announce, it implies. It sounds like this: "I don't say this often, but there's something about you that makes me slow down. I don't feel the need to look anywhere else when I'm talking to you." Read that again, slowly. Because what you're doing here isn't praising them. You're revealing your reaction to them. And that's where the power is. You're not placing them on a pedestal. You're showing them the effect they have on you. A very specific effect. Focus, stillness, presence. Things that are rare in a world full of distraction. Now their mind doesn't just hear a compliment, it experiences contrast. Because most interactions feel rushed, replaceable, temporary. But what you just described feels intentional, almost selective. And that's what triggers the deeper emotional response. Because you didn't say, "You're special." You showed them, through your experience, that they stand out. And here's where it becomes psychologically intense. When someone feels like they've captured your attention in a way others haven't, they start to value that attention more, not because you gave it freely, but because it feels earned. Even if they don't fully understand how. And once something feels earned, it becomes harder to lose. That's when the dynamic shifts completely. They start noticing your absence. They start replaying your words. They start measuring their own responses, not out of insecurity, but out of investment. And that's the line where attraction quietly turns into attachment. But here's the truth most people avoid. This kind of connection isn't built on constant talking. It's built on impact, on saying something that stays longer than your presence, on creating a feeling that doesn't disappear when the conversation ends. And if you've been listening closely, you'll realize something uncomfortable. None of these compliments were loud. None of them were excessive. In fact, they were restrained, precise, almost minimal. Because mature hearts don't melt from words alone. They melt from what those words reveal. About them, about you, about the connection forming in between. And that's the difference between chasing attention and creating desire. One is temporary, the other lingers, quietly, in ways that are hard to explain. So the next time you feel the urge to say something nice, pause. Not to hold back, but to see deeper. Because the right words don't come from trying harder. They come from noticing what others ignore. And once you learn that, you don't need more words. You just need the right ones. If this made you feel something you couldn't quite explain, then you're starting to see what most people miss. Stay close to Psychology of Desire, because the deeper truths aren't always comfortable, but they are always real. And the next time someone looks at you a little longer than usual, you'll know why.